Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about quite a few characters. Today's going to be more of a spitball video, not very scripted or whatnot. I just wanted to do this more at the top of my head, and that is some of the more underrated characters in the Naruto series. There's a lot of guys who, whose meats are whacked all the time, like, the obvious ones. Itachi, Pain, Obito, anyone with a dojutsu. So I just more wanted to talk about some of the other guys in the series that absolutely tear ass but don't get the recognition for it. The first character we're going to get to is probably one of the more early characters, and that is Haku. Now, if you aren't into power scaling, you're probably like, what? Haku? Why are we talking about Haku? Ain't that the motherfucker who got demolished by Kakashi in the first arc of the series? Well, this ain't Dragon Ball. It doesn't just upscale every arc. So Haku was still a beast. And I'm not even that much of a fan of Haku, but if you honestly think that Haku's like Kid Sasuke level, you're lying. If you think Haku's like Genin level, then you should just stop talking about Naruto. There's so much evidence that that is not the case at all. For one, he's stronger than both Kakashi and Zabuza. Zabuza says this himself, and even if you don't believe him, Kakashi earlier says that there are ninja younger than him that are stronger than him. If we look later in the series, no one really fits that description besides Haku. Maybe there's another child that I don't remember that is stronger than Kakashi as an adult. I guess maybe you could say like Kid Itachi, but even that's debatable, or like Gaara, and again that's also debatable. But Haku's probably the one clear answer they give you, as supported by Zabuza, then saying it again that Haku is stronger than both of them. One thing that people can't seem to accept is the data book stating that Haku is the speed of light, and the thing is that the data book doesn't really say that Haku's just zipping around at the speed of light when fighting Sasuke, or just, every time this motherfucker gets into a fight, he's just breezing past everybody. It says that he could go the speed of light, as in it is possible, and there's one requirement, there's one way that is possible, and it's also supported narratively. And that is when Haku tells Naruto that you get stronger by protecting those you love. And as we see later on in the series, Haku is able to blitz past Kakashi and make it in front of Zabuza in time to, again, protect those that he loves. Basically proving that your power does go up, with the data book saying that Haku could go light speed. That is more than likely the requirement needed for Haku to actually do that. He needs that mental amp. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not backtracking, because I still think this is an insanely impressive feat for Haku. It is kind of vague how fast he is regularly. Like, you'd think it can't be that far off his max speed, but then again, Sakura later on in Shippuden also gets like an incredible mental amp to fight a whole Akatsuki member, so it's like, I guess mental amps are just broken. This has led to like the whole Raikage debate, whether Haku's as fast as the Raikage, and all I'm going to say is that the Raikage seems to be more casually light speed rather than Haku, who needs like this crisis moment to do so. Raikage just seems to be able to do it like all day without giving a single fuck. Another thing that's impressive about Haku is the fact that Zabuza was going to use him as a weapon to kill the Mizukage, or the Kage who was running the Mist Village. Now, this feat in of itself is impressive or not impressive, depending on who you think the Kage was at the time. I don't think there's a clear answer. If there is, please leave it in the comment section below. But during the Land of Waves, I'm pretty sure we don't know if Yagura is still the Mizukage or if Mei is the Mizukage. If it's Yagura, this is extremely impressive. Yagura is the guy who, he made Itachi run away, as seen in the, what was it? It was the Akatsuki storyline in Revolution or Generations, one of those games, but I do know is approved by Kishimoto. So, that's very impressive in of itself. Or was that in filler? I don't know. Well, regardless, it's a better feat if Yager is the Mizukage. If it's Mei, then I guess it doesn't matter because she kind of sucks. So, anyways, take that as you will. I don't know who the Mizukage was during the first arc, but if it was Mei, then just forget everything I said because I'm pretty sure Zabuza could take on Mei on his own. If you want my kind of final verdict for Haku, I would say that since Haku's above Kakashi, Kakashi was compared to Guy in part 1, at least base to base, and we see Guy like kick away Kisame and shit. Again, I'm not saying Haku's like Kisame level, that's ridiculous, but I'm saying that Haku's definitely in that like elite Jonin level, not Kage level. I guess Kage level is vague because Kakashi was like considered to, they were gonna elect him to be Kage, or at least he was in the books to be a Kage even during the Land of Waves. So Kage level's vague, but you know what I mean. He's still like elite Jonin level. Probably will lose to like Guy if he like goes, I don't know, into even like the second gate. I think it'd just be too much for Haku, but still not too shabby considering most people think Haku's like Genin level. Now we're gonna go ahead and stay in part 1 of Naruto because we got Kimimaro next. One of the goats of part 1 in my opinion. He's such a badass. This motherfucker is dangerous. Just dangerous. So first, let's talk about his, him smacking Tailed Beast Amp Naruto. Assuming this Naruto is stronger than the one that was Tailed Beast Amped against Gaara, this is very, very impressive. The reason I say he's more than likely stronger is this is a whole 2 arcs later, especially in the previous one with Jiraiya. The Tsunade retrieval arc, it's literally just Naruto training the entire time. So he's likely way stronger, and he's probably way more pissed off now because, Kimimara's keeping Sasuke. Yet Naruto got fondled hard. People bring up like how strong Kimimaro is and how strong like Gaara is, and they're like, oh, they're not like Jonin level, and it's like, alright, let me paint this picture. So Haku is likely stronger than Zabuza and Kakashi. At minimum, he's a relative to them. You could say he's a little weaker. He's not, but let's just say for the sake of argument, he's like below Zabuza and Kakashi by a little bit. Naruto one-shot this motherfucker in the first arc. And Naruto's only been getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and, he's probably coming more in tune with his Tailed Beast chakra more and more. And by the time Kimimaro comes out, Kimimaro just fondles this man. He fondles him in all the clones. Except my man ain't done. He runs the gauntlet. Because then Rock Lee shows up, and he's drunk as shit. And I know a lot of people meme this fight, but it's like, okay, so Guy was saying that Rock Lee was like difficult to restrain. So that already like is more evidence that these guys are like Jonin level. And yes, Guy said if he went all out, then yeah, but this is obvious, If he went all out, then of course he'd defeat Lee, but the guy is way beyond Jonin level. He's like probably the strongest Jonin in the Hidden Leaf Village. So him saying that doesn't really mean anything. And yeah, this drunk Rock Lee fights Kimimaro, and of course Kimimaro has the upper hand here as well, especially when he starts taking like the bones out of his body and shit. And then, even after all this, he then fights Gaara. Gaara was considered to be like a weapon of the Sand Village. He's this big deal. He's definitely Jonin level. I don't want to hear it. He literally becomes Kage in 2 years. And Kimimaro really only loses to this dude because of his own sickness. Otherwise, Gaara and Lee would be dead as well. Kimimaro a monster. If you want more evidence, Kabuto believed that Kimimaro was going to be useful in the fight against fucking Hiruzen. If you don't remember, Kabuto also says that like Hiruzen is the strongest of the 5 Kage alive. This would include like Onoki, Raikage, Mei, and Onoki's that dude who fucking stopped like the planetary devastation from Madara. So the fact that Hiruzen is that strong and Orochimaru felt like Kimimaro would be any aid in that battle is crazy. Now there is one last thing, it is the KCM Naruto feat, when he throws a Rasen Shuriken and Kimimaro like jumps out of the way. I'm gonna say it's an outlier. It only happens once, and Naruto could have not been going all out. Obviously, there's a lot of questions there. They don't really fight. It's just one panel. I wouldn't put too much stock in that. But yeah, I'm not saying Kimimaro is like Hiruzen level, but he's definitely in that Jonin the Kage level. I don't know. He's heavily downplayed. Alright, so now I'm excited because now we get to talk about Gaara of the Sand. We're going to go over Gaara. So where do I start with him? I guess the first thing we could talk about is the fact that the Sand Village labeled him as an absolute prodigy, or he was kind of their trump card in the whole Konoha Crush, is it? Is that what Orochimaru's attack was called? Konoha Crush? I think that's what it was, but he was labeled as a weapon at that time. Gaara was able to defeat Rock Lee, the guy that the community won't stop deep-throating. I mean, let's just be real here. Gaara did sustain some pretty good damage, but I don't know in what world people think Lee won this fight. Literally, Lee gave it his all, and Gaara still had enough chakra to perform one of his most powerful jutsu. And, yeah. So, Gaara won that shit. But let's just keep going. Let's look at the facts here. He swapped hands with Deidara. I know that at the time it was kind of like, who cares? But then later we see Deidara fight fucking Sasuke, and they almost drawed. And that in of itself is ridiculous because you look at Sasuke's level, right? Sasuke stomping all of Team 7. I know some people will make the case that Heavy Sasuke was already stronger than Kakashi at the beginning of part 1. I mean, the beginning of Shippuden. And if you do take that stance, then you would probably agree that Gaara is stronger than Kakashi as well, which is really crazy, considering that his fight with Deidara is weird and hard to quantify because he's at an advantage and disadvantage because, one, he has sand all around him, but he also needs to defend the Sand Village. So I don't really know how to gauge whether or not the fight's in Gaara's favor or not. But yeah, if you want further evidence that Gaara would smack Naruto and Kakashi in the beginning of Shippuden, I mean, just look at the fact that the Sasuke that stomped Team 7 had Orochimaru cell, did not have the Orochimaru cells, so he's actually stronger in the Deidara fight. Of course, the whole Kakashi thing is dependent on where do you view Kakashi in relativity to Yamato, where some people believe they're about equal, and if that is the case, then yeah, Gaara would slam Kakashi. If not, then this gets a little more debatable, but I think that even without talking about relativity to Yamato, if you remember, Naruto, after he defeats Kakuzu, he feels like he still can't beat Sasuke, and Kakashi deemed Naruto already stronger than him at this point. Hell, I want to backtrack a little further and talk about Gaara from part 1. Part 1 Gaara versus part 1 Kakashi is another topic of debate, and my answer is kind of, I'm not too sure, but I can understand the side for Gaara. The Gaara that fights Kimimaro is crazy. What the fuck does Kakashi really do against the Sand Tsunami? If you take the idea that Naruto's Tailed Beast amps are only getting better and stronger as the series goes on, and the fact that the one he got against Haku was already deemed stronger than Zabuza and Kakashi, and if he's just getting stronger amps later on, and Kimimaro smacks a stronger amp Naruto, and then Gaara is able to fight that Kimimaro, then yeah, Gaara would plaster Kakashi from part 1, even as a child. Which I know a lot of people will be shocked about it, but then they'll accept that Shippuden Gaara could win, even though it's 2-year difference. It's not that far off. But yeah, before I move out of Gaara, I'm just gonna leave this here. Him blitzing some of the Kage in the War Arc. Thought that was neat. So next up, I've got the main character himself, Naruto. Now, I hear you ask, why Naruto? Why would you put Naruto on a underrated list? Well, I'm more talking about Naruto in Sage mode, the one that fought Pain. I see a lot of Sage Naruto disrespect because, he didn't really beat Pain. He had all the frogs. He turned into Ninetales. Minato saved him. Hinata stepped in. He had intel. There were so many reasons why Naruto even had a chance against Pain. So people kind of disrespect him and think that he's kind of garbage. But Obito and Zetsu, I forget which one of the two said it, but they wanted Sasuke to have no business around Naruto. Um, and this is after Heavy Sasuke, obviously. So Sage 1 Naruto over Heavy Sasuke. I don't think many people are gonna argue that. But I guess if you want to get into it, like Sage Naruto's like regular attacks were already like stronger than a lightning blade from Kakashi. We see like the damage it does against like the Asura path, which is insane. He pulls some Tsunade ass feats, throwing rhinos around. I'd even make the case, this could be its own video some other day, but I would go as far as to say that Sage Naruto would do very well in the 5 Kage Summit situation had he been in Sasuke's shoes. Yeah, Naruto was just a beast. I mean, later on he goes up against the Nine Tails, like the half of the Nine Tails, but you look at like what an inkling of his power can do, and he's like one-shotting Haku and making Deidara flee and boxing Orochimaru, and the fact that Naruto and Sage is later able to fight the Nine Tails inside his own head is really crazy. And so the last guy I want to talk about is Kisame Hoshigaki, and man, I love this character. For one, I'm going to be showing my bias here, but fuck it. This motherfucker is broken as hell. Before we even start, I want to bring up the fucking Jiraiya line, that tired ass line where Kisame says that he and Itachi might not be able to handle Jiraiya, yada yada, all that bullshit. First of all, it's irrelevant, man. It's so long ago that you could make the simple case, the easy case that Kisame could have just gotten stronger since that moment is very plausible and very likely. We see that Kisame is pushed back by Base Guy in part 1 of Naruto, but then later on in the Sasori arc, I forgot the Kazekage rescue, the Gaara rescue, whatever. He uses a clone, and that fucking clone is able to fight Guy going up in the gates and the rest of his team like no problem. He's like toying with them, and it's not even actually him, it's a shadow clone. So the idea that Kisame got way stronger is not out of the question at all. And even if he didn't get stronger, which is unlikely, you could just say that he fears the name of the Sannin rather than actual Jiraiya. Kisame's probably never seen Jiraiya fight a day in his life. Why it's also plausible that it is the name of the Sannin that matters is that because these three survived the fight against Hanzo. And for those of you who don't know how OP Hanzo is, yes, he beat all three of the Sannin, but there's a guy like Pain even defeated like when he was sick and like out of his prime. Like Pain didn't go fight Hanzo in his prime. Like he didn't want that smoke. So Hanzo is really crazy. I'm not saying Hanzo in his prime would beat Pain, but I'm just putting into context what level Hanzo's at, and the fact that Sannin survived that would give Kisame, second thoughts on how strong the Sannin are. But allow us to go back and talk about, yes, he bodied all of Team Guy with the goddamn Shadow Clone. Keep in mind, Guy is relative to Kakashi. This is stated multiple times in part 1, so that's already ridiculous as it is. But more importantly, I want to look at his fight against Killer B, where B just gets thrashed in this fight. Like, no two ways about it. He just gets manhandled. So, how strong is B exactly? Well, I guess we could get to, like, speed or reaction speed. He's able to react to fucking Minato. He's able to predict where he's going to go. And before anyone says, oh, he's just predicting it, he can't just hold the knife up because Minato would see that and then not go there. So he has to do it in a pretty decent time, a pretty decent reaction time, in order to catch Minato off guard like that. Keep in mind, this was years ago, This is consistent because B is also able to react to, like, Edo Itachi, and Edo Itachi is, like, boxing against KCM Naruto. And Kisame beat this guy in base form. Not saying base Kisame is like Minato speed or Edo Itachi, because that's like a little ridiculous, but he's in that ballpark. Like, he's really fucking fast. Now, the conversation of Killer B versus the Raikage is kind of, you can argue either way, but for the sake of this video, we'll just say they're equals, they're relative. But the reason we're going to talk about this is because in the 5 Kage Summit, Sasuke struggles with A, like the Raikage, who's relative to Killer Bee. Equal, weaker, stronger. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to be by a major amount. And the difference of performance between Sasuke versus Raikage and Killer Bee versus Kisame is insane. So yeah, Kisame is definitely no joke. He's easily the strongest Akatsuki member besides, the top three, the Dojutsu guys. They're on a different level. Now, Sekitachi, I think Kisame would win that fight. But, I'm talking about the Itachi that fought Sasuke, obviously. I think Kisame wins that fight, but that's a conversation for another day. But there's one more thing I wanted to talk about, and that is kind of this weird thing where I hear, the people Kisame is compared to are like 5 Kage Summit Sasuke, Itachi, but I want to talk about more of these two, and I want to talk about specifically the Susanoo and whether or not he can absorb it. And even though obviously this is not confirmed or deconfirmed, I think yes. Let's look at the evidence. Is it possible he can't? Sure, but it's unlikely. Kisame absorbs chakra, which is a mix of one's physical and spiritual energy. Now, not only is it stated that the Susanoo is chakra given physical form, but at least Itachi's, he has spiritual treasures, So literally, spirit weapons. And, chakra is, again, your physical and spiritual energy given form. And the volume of chakra for Kisame clearly doesn't fucking matter because the tailed beasts are like, they're always hyped up of having this ridiculous, dense, potent chakra. And so what the fuck is a Susanoo in comparison to the fucking Eight Tails in terms of raw chakra? Do I think the Eight Tails could beat Itachi Susanoo? Obviously not. You just stab him with the Totsuka blade and he's gone. But in terms of raw chakra potency, I'd argue the tailed beasts are higher than any Susanoo besides probably like the perfect Susanoo or probably Madara Susanoo, because Madara is a different beast altogether. Kisame probably can't absorb that, but he could probably just absorb the Susanoo straight out of Sasuke or Itachi, or at the very least he could just absorb the spirit weapons, being the Totsuka blade and the Yatamir. And something tells me that the Totsuka blade and the Yatamir aren't going to be made of different material than the actual armor itself. Possible, but I don't think so. Again, you're free to disagree on that because obviously these things aren't confirmed, but I just think that it's a weird thing to say that Kisame can't absorb them because I don't really know what the argument against him doing so is. But yeah, that's the video, guys. Those are some underrated Naruto characters in my opinion. We need more respect on these characters' name. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm trying to be a little more consistent on YouTube, but I got a busy schedule and stuff. I got a life. But I'm trying. So if you guys like this type of content, let me know down below. Let me know down below what you guys want to see more of. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. But thank you guys, more importantly, for sticking around for the whole video and watching.